Hello ladies and gents. In this video we will see how we can import data from a spreadsheet in UI5. And for this purpose we will use this spreadsheet importer package because it's very easy to use, highly customizable, and it's very well documented. And to see how we can use this, I've created this very simple product list in edit mode, which uses an OData v2 mock server. Now to get started, let's go to our app source code and begin by installing our package by npm install ui5-cc-spreadsheet importer. And now we have it installed with this version number, and we need to add this --all option to our build script to make sure that our dependency will be included in our build. And next we go to our manifest.json file, and inside this sap.ui5 block, let's do it here. First we need to add a resource root for our third-party dependency, so we say resource roots, and the key will be cc.spreadsheet importer, and dot the version number separated by underscores. It's 033_4 because that's the version we have just installed right here. And the value will be /third party /custom control with a capital C for the control /spreadsheet importer, again with a capital I, and then slash the version number again. So let's just copy it from here. And next we need to add this as a component usage. So we say component usages, and the key will be the name of our component usage. Let's use spreadsheet importer with a capital I. And then for the name property, we will set cc.spreadsheet importer. Let's also copy it from here because it's the same as our resource root name, along with the version. Now we are done with the installation, but it's important to make note that if you upgrade this package, you will have to check the new version number and update them in two places here as well. Now let's go to our view, which is very simple. It just has this table. And if we start our application with npm start, and I want to add a button which will come from our component usage to here next to our title. So let's go to our view, and inside our toolbar after the title, let's first add a toolbar spacer. And next we will add our component usage. So we create a core component container. And the first property we need is the usage, name of our component usage. Let's copy it from manifest.json, which is this one, spreadsheet importer. And then we need two more properties. First, propagate model, which we will set to true, and then async we will also set to true. And now if we go back to our app and refresh, here we see a new button in our toolbar named Excel import, and if we click on it, we can see this pop-up with some buttons, and we can try this download template button, for example. And we can see a new spreadsheet has been downloaded. Let's open it up. And here we can see one line filled with sample data along with our labels. And this automatically comes from our tables binding, which is a mock server, like I said. So if we open our metadata for this products endpoint, which is using this product entity, and here we can see all the fields, and they correspond to our spreadsheet along with the type. So quantity should be an integer, I think, exactly, which is why this is also an integer in Excel. And for this date of sale, which is a date, actually a timestamp, and it's formatted accordingly. Now let's customize our component usage a little bit, because we will not need every single field from our metadata. So let's come here and add a settings attribute, which will be an object this time. And we can define the columns we want with the columns attribute. Columns, and it will be an array, of course. And let's use the product ID and the name attribute. And let's actually open our metadata again, or we can just select from here. Let's select supplier name. And what else do we have? Date of sale. And let's add quantity. We also have price. And lastly, currency. I think it was named currency code. Yes. And edit. Now let's save. Go back to our app. And refresh. Click again. Download template. Let's open the new one. And we now have only the fields that we have specified. Let's add a few more options. Let's say we want to change the name of this button right here, which says Excel import. And we can do that easily again with another setting, which is named component container data, which is another object in itself. And in here we have a property named button text. And let's set it to Excel upload, for example, instead of Excel import. Now we should see the new name, which is Excel upload. And let's also change the name for our template file. And for that, outside this component container data, we have a property named Spreadsheet file name with capital F and N. And let's set it to, for example, products underscore template.xlsx. Let's save and try again, refresh. Click download template, and now we have a template with the new name. And with our template, let's actually try adding a new product. For the ID, let's say 90. Normally we don't have to pass in ID, but since this is a mock server, we need to. And name, let's say new prod 1. Supplier 1. Date of sale I will leave as today. Quantity and price I will also leave. And currency code, let's say euro. And save. And copy this one and add another one. Let's make quantity as, I don't know, 56. And price is 87. Now we need to close this. And let's see Excel upload. Now we can select our Excel file Let's give it a few seconds and select our latest one. Click on upload, and we can instantly see our new 2 products in our lists, which means the corresponding OData route has been hit automatically by our component usage, and our 2 new products have been created automatically for us. If we need to run some checks, for example, before uploading the data, we can also do that. For example, let's set one of the fields, the currency field, as a mandatory field. So in here, let's say mandatory fields, also an array. And in here, let's set our currency code as mandatory. Save. Refresh our app. And since this is a mock server, our new products will be gone whenever we refresh. And let's open our latest template file. And I will just remove this currency code. And save. Close. And now if I try to upload it, not available yet, I will instantly get this error message, and it tells me the row numbers 2 and 3. We only have 2 rows, but it still makes sense because if we open it up, we have these titles and the actual rows are 2 and 3. Let's get it back to normal. So I think the name was currency code, and then inside brackets we also have the same field name, and let's put euro for the 2 fields here and save. And let's choose it again, or actually let's remove only one this time. Let's remove this one and save. And now if we select our template, we get only for the 3rd row, and we can see this button right here which says continue anyway. So we can continue even we have any errors. And if you don't want to give this option to the users, there is also a very simple setting which is named strict. And if we set this to true, it will run in strict mode and will not give this option. Let's try that quickly. And select the same template. And we again have the same error, but we don't have this continue anyway option. Now let's go back to our app and create some more complicated checks before we submit our data. And for that we will use an event which is named check before read, and we will create it here inside component container data. Check before read, and I will give the event handler the same name. And let's go ahead and implement that. Let's go to our controller and create a function with this name, and we will get an event object. And from this object, let's actually see what we get. Console.log event. Let's refresh, Excel upload, open up our console and select our template. We can see our event object right here, and we have the parameters parse data, sheet data, which we can use to run some checks. And in here we have another log which comes by default, which contains the error messages. Now let's implement our checks, and let's begin by storing the source of our event. So say const source equals oEvent.getSource. And then we will need the data itself. So let's say const sheet data equals oEvent.getParameter. And we have just seen that we have a parameter named sheet data. And then let's create an empty array named errors to push in any errors we catch. And now let's loop over our sheet data. Using a for of loop, we can say const, and let's use array destructuring the index and the row data of sheet data dot entries, which exists on our sheet data parameter. And then let's implement our check for invalid currencies. And now let's also loop over our columns in every row using a for in loop. So we say for const key in row. And first we need to check if we are in the correct column. So first we say if key dot ends with, and if we check our Excel sheet again, we can see that it ends with this part right here, the field name. So let's check if we are inside the correct column. And we can for sure implement more complex checks, but I will just check the length of the currency code for now. So I will say row key and dot row value, because we also have access to this. Let's also check that. We check the logs, we have the sheet data, and for each row, actually each column, we have this row data, row value. And we can just check the length of this, and we can say length not equal to 3, which would mean it's an invalid code. And all we have to do is just add a new error to our errors array, and then we will add our errors to our component usage. So first let's add it to our array. Let's create one const error equals, it's an object, and we need a title for the error. Let's say invalid currency. Then we need the row, so the user knows to which row it belongs. And we have the index, and we need to bump it up by 2 because index in JavaScript is 0 based, and we also have that labels row, so we need to add 2. And we set group to true. Then we say row value, and we can just copy it from here. And we set UI5 type to error. I also see that I have a typo here. And let's add our error to our errors array. So errors.push error. And lastly, once we are done with all our checks, we just say all source dot add array to messages and push our errors array. And if this array is empty, it will not have any effect. Now let's go back first. Let's check our template again. So we have one empty, but let's add something here. For example, we had a typo and typed in something wrong. Let's close, save, and refresh our app. Select our template. And now we can see the message we added. Error occurred on row 3 with value this, and we can see the title that we set invalid currency, and this row number is also coming from here, which we already set. And if we fix our data, let's make this USD, save, refresh. And we are good to go, and we can upload our products and we can see them here. And what if we want to make some changes or adjustments to our data before we submit it? And for that we have another method, another event, and it's named change before create. Let's also implement that. I will again use the same name as the event itself. And let's create the event handler. And this event will be triggered when we click on the update button, unlike the other one here, check before read, which is invoked as soon as we select our Excel sheet. And for this event, we have a payload parameter. So we can access it with const payload equals oEvent.getParameter, and it's simply named payload. Let's just log it to the console to see what it looks like. Let's go back, refresh our app, select our spreadsheet. Let's open the console. Now we have the messages array, which is empty. Let's clear it, and when we click on upload, we can see our payload. Here is the first entry and here is the second entry, and here we can make some adjustments to our data before we submit it. And let's change our data a bit, for example the price, so we can round it up. For the first one, let's leave it as is, and for the second one, let's make it 87,68, for example. Or actually, let's add one more, 689. Let's save, close, and let's go back to our event handler, remove our log. And here first let's check if we actually have a price. So we say if payload.price, it's a capital P, then we can say payload.price equals, first we have to make sure it's a number. So let's convert it to a number if it's not. And then we can say dot to fixed and use 2 decimal places. And then of course we have to return our updated payload, and this should be payload. And now let's refresh and try again. Upload. I think I closed it now. Yes, let's select it, upload. And now if we check the price, for the first one, we just see 2 zeros as the decimal point because we just specified 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the next one, I think it was 689, and it has been round up to just 69. And lastly, what if we just want to import some data from a spreadsheet but not upload it to an OData server or something? Maybe we just need it locally or for a local model, etc. And for that, we can go to our component usage and add the standalone attribute to true. And then we can remove these, or let's leave them, and we get another event handler which is named upload button press. Because since it will not be submitted to anywhere automatically, we need to handle the upload process ourselves. Let's again create an handler with the same name. Let's implement it here. And again, this one will be triggered when we click on the upload button. And let's see what we get from the event. There's the parameters. Let's go back, refresh. Select our spreadsheet, click on upload, and we no longer have our new products automatically, but we have the payload again, and we can use this in any way we would like in our application. I will leave it here for this video, but I highly recommend going to the documentation of this spreadsheet importer because it's very well documented and it has a lot of options. For example, you might ask, how does it know to which endpoint it should automatically send the payload? That's because if you have only one table in your view, it will use that one and its binding. But if you have several, you will need to use this table ID attribute and then set it to the ID of your table that you would like to use your component usage. And then you can see all stuff like event handling or overriding the standard texts, etc. And that's it for me today. Thank you all for watching and see you in the next video.